Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm very excited to bring one of our members, Paloma Goggins. She is the owner of Nocturnal Legal, which is a boutique law firm specializing in closely held companies, businesses, and really she does a wide range of size of your company. So, Paloma, let's chat about that a little bit and, how you can get your services out there to people.
Yes, well, thank you for having me today and happy Friday.
Yes.
Um, just I think kind of broad stroke overview. Thank you for the introduction. My practice is focused specifically on businesses, and so I always tell people if it's related to the day-to-day operations of a business and it has to do with a contract, it is in my wheelhouse. So I help with sort of two main buckets, which is merger and acquisition work, helping people buy and sell businesses, and then also with commercial contracts and outside general counsel work. And it's just kind of a fancy way of saying if you need advice in your business and it's legal, I'm there for them.
Nice. So it's funny because I always used to say if I would have followed the path of what my mom wanted for me, I would have been an attorney and I would have worked mergers and acquisitions, I feel like, but I don't know why. So how is that for you? And how often because when I think mergers and acquisitions, we think like mega companies, right? I think that just kind of comes to mind. What do you see? And do you see a lot of that, say solopreneurs selling, growing and selling?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it is a funny, like just perception, right? Of the sort of what we see in the big newspapers as the conglomerates, merging and big companies buying the smaller companies. But in the Valley, we have a very active M&A market, and people don't really realize when you've owned and operated a business for your whole life, even if it's family owned and operated, or maybe it's just two business partners and you've just been crushing it. You inherently have value, right, in that business through what you've grown. And if you're nearing retirement or you're looking to change into a new field, selling that business to either an employee, a family member, or a third party, someone that you don't know on the open market, is a great way to get the value. It's kind of like buying a home, right? You're investing all this time, money, and energy into building something that you could ultimately liquidate at the end of your time in the business and cash out and exit in a way that really makes sense. And so you can see businesses of all sizes. I always tell people, it does depend on the attorney. Some attorneys do have specific limitations, but I come from a family that's been always entrepreneurial, have owned and operated businesses my whole life. I think at one point when I was like 5, they had a fine dining restaurant. I mean, they've done all sorts of random and interesting things. And so because of that, I don't have a limitation. If someone wants to sell a small mom and pop business, brick and mortar, and it doesn't hit a certain purchase price threshold, I'm not going to say no. If they want to have competent representation and having someone to review or draft the documents, I've learned through my parents having to hire various attorneys throughout the year that, good counsel is important in that process. So if
Yeah.
someone understands the value, I'm always happy to help.
So would you recommend that it's probably really hard when for say a solopreneur or a small family business to even think about selling. It's usually when they start up they don't think of that. But would you recommend that somebody get legal counsel well ahead if they're even just thinking about it or just when they're ready to do the process?
Earlier is better. I think anybody in the exit planning world will tell you the earlier you can start getting out ahead of the process, the better that process will be when you actually go to execute. A lot of closely held businesses, smaller businesses that haven't really been organized throughout their entire lifetime can find it difficult to pull together all of the necessary documents that
Mhm.
are requested during the diligence period. And that's not necessarily going to hurt the deal or kill the deal by chance, but it is going to make the process much more painful. You're still trying to operate the business. So,
Yeah.
if you can start, it's kind of like going through your closet and starting to organize it just little by little. If you can start and chunk it off a little bit each year and getting organized, or even by month, if you're planning to exit in the next year or two, that process just goes so much smoother.
Okay. Got you. So what's your favorite part about being a lawyer? Like, why'd you get into it? And what's your favorite client? The thing to do?
I got into being a lawyer because it was kind of a combination of I like editing and reading and writing, which is contract work is very heavy in that. But I actually was originally going to school for psychology, and
Okay.
my plan was to go on and get a PhD in psychology and become a psychologist and all that. And I kind of realized that the path just wasn't for me, and I still wanted to be able to help others. And so being a lawyer kind of combined my two passions, which was helping people and doing the reading, writing, and editing portion of it. So it's kind of a really happy marriage by chance. And then in terms of favorite part of working with people in the merger and acquisition space is always getting people to the finish line, of course,
Oh,
because that's, it's sometimes a very long and strenuous process, and a lot of, heightened feelings. It can be hard when you're selling a business, and you're, for the first time you're letting go of your baby, right? Or vice versa. Maybe you're buying a business because you don't want to start something from scratch, and it's scary, right? There's a lot of risk,
yeah.
a lot of reward too, but a lot of potential risk. And so you don't know whether you're making the right choice in the business you're choosing. And sometimes that can, bad news about a business or maybe something that's not so great comes out through the diligence process, and, potentially makes the buyer nervous or makes them, terminate the negotiation process. So there's that. And I think there was a third question in there about maybe a favorite type of client.
Yeah.
Honestly, I work with all types of industries, and I think it makes my practice more well-rounded because I get different perspectives and different insights from different industries that sometimes apply to other areas. But all in all, I do love working with, family owned and operated businesses, just because that's where my family has been. And I just really feel like the families that can work and live together copacetically, it's just always amazing to me, because there is a lot of you don't realize until you're in a family owned and operated business how much the dinner table is just all business talk, right?
Right. Yeah, I get it. I can't imagine if my, husband were in my business. We have worked together at home for years. So that almost feels like we're in business together. Right? I'll just go downstairs to his office and be like, "Da, da, da, da," or I'll be at the dinner table and he's like, "Oh, la, la." And so I totally get it, even though they're different businesses, but I can't imagine I have to try to make decisions with them. Be like, this is how we're going to do it. The children would probably be like, what is happening right now? Yeah, we're going to not be entrepreneurs.
No, totally. Yeah. It's like you thought negotiating where you were going for dinner was next level. Add in complexities of the business and the
Yeah.
financial aspects. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Especially if you have a struggle or something happening, right? It's probably blame game, but I don't even know. I can't even imagine. So well, how long have you been in business?
I have been in business, let's see, it's been about a year and 8 months now. So I've been practicing law for about 7 years, but decided to go out on my own not too long ago. So April will mark the 2 year anniversary.
Oh, wow. Okay. How was that? So did you do the similar stuff just for another law firm?
Yes, yeah. I've always been a corporate attorney, and it's always kind of been a dream of mine to own my own practice. And
Yeah.
we kind of my husband and I, we kind of had this conversation. We're like, if not now, when? Right? You can always say woulda, coulda, shoulda. So at some point, you've got to take that leap if you ever want to see whether it can work or not. Right?
For sure. For sure. Well, apparently it's working out pretty good. You're here 2 years. That's so
Yes,
fun.
yes.
Then besides all that, what do you do for fun? Because I interviewed Chris Kaup with Tiffany and Bosco a bit ago, and he's like, I'm a lawyer. We don't have fun.
Oh my goodness. So you know what? I beg to differ. I am a big hiker and outdoors person. So we recently just came back from Yosemite. We spent about a week and a half out there, and we won the permit to hike Half Dome, which has always been on my bucket list. And
Exciting.
um, it was probably, people have said online it's one of the hardest hikes that you can possibly do in the US. And we've been to the Grand Canyon River and back in a single day, which I thought was going to be number one in my list forever. And the Half Dome was arguably just slightly worse, which I thought was incredible because I didn't think anything would top the Grand Canyon hike. But it was a total of like 18 miles, and it took us, I think, 7 or 8 hours. And you just don't stop moving, right? Because once you go up, you have to come back down. So it was cool though. And if you're watching this and you're a big hiker and you have not done Half Dome, I recommend it. It's labor of love, but definitely worth it at the summit.
That's crazy. So I can't imagine. So with the Havasupai one, is it the same route always? I did it in 2019 and it was like 7 hours just to get down there. I can't imagine doing a turnaround.
So the one that we did down to the river was Bright Angel through. Okay. And so it wasn't technically, I don't think that's the same hike as Havasu Falls or Havasu. Falls. What is it called?
Yeah, I think it's the Havasupai Falls. You go down and you camp for the few days.
Yes, I've heard of it. I have not done that one. Yeah, we did the Bright Angel trail all the way down, and it took us the whole day. And we ran into people that were doing rim to rim in a single day. And we were like, we can't even imagine getting back up now that we're down here, let alone these people. And we got to speak with them, and they started at like 2:30 in the morning, which makes sense, but also grueling.
Crazy. It's funny because I'm not a huge hiker. My husband's a huge hiker. He and the dog are out 4 or 5 days a week. They're out at the superstitions, doing what they can. But I'm not massive into hiking. I'm like, oh God, really? But then when you get there, you're like, I'm so glad I did this.
Yes. No, for sure. I don't know if you've seen that meme circulating on Instagram, but it's like the hikers just all saying like, why am I doing this? This is horrible. And then they get to the top and they're like, this is beautiful. Let's do this again sometime.
Let's do it. Right. I'm like, this is amazing. No, yeah, when we did Havasupai, I thought it was going to be so different than it was. And I don't know what people think. Don't get me wrong. The hike is amazing to go down and in, but really it's just all the switchbacks initially. That's about 45 minutes, at least for me. And mind you, I didn't practice. I didn't prepare. I'm not like an avid hiker. It wasn't like I was treadmilling for a year carrying a backpack. I'm like, I'm just going to try and see what happens. Probably a bad idea.
I'm in the same boat. We were terrible at training. So I feel you on that. I'm like, I could probably do this.
Yeah, like just keep my backpack as light as possible. But besides the switchbacks, really 90% of the hike to get down to the falls was, I almost want to say like a river bottom. It was almost like river rocky, little river rocky pebble. And you're just going through a massive canyon. You're literally in the bottom of this canyon, just walking. There wasn't a lot of uphill, downhill, no boulder climbing, scrambling. There was none of that, which you kind of would have thought you have when you think about it. So once I realized that, again, don't get me wrong, it was amazing and lovely because you come across like super green areas than not, and different canyons and rocks. And I also got to do it with my youngest son. So that's always fun when I get an opportunity to spend a long time with the adult kids. Gosh, he was 21 at the time. Around there, but we decided to helicopter out because I'm like, well, if
I ask you that,
I'm going to pay $80 and helicopter out.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, that was amazing because you got to see you literally fly the trail, but you're above. So it was so fun to see all the new people coming in, some leaving. It was an amazing experience. It was about a 4-minute helicopter ride, but loved it. So if you ever get the opportunity to do that, definitely go down there and camp in Havasu Falls. It's phenomenal. But I don't know.
It sounds cool. I was going to ask you about the helicopter because I've heard of people wanting to just be done and take that up. And to be quite
Yeah.
frank, if we had the opportunity when we did the trip down to the river, we would have taken it.
Like $80, sign me up.
Yeah.
Just know
This
it's $80 cash.
Did you
And
take
they
Venmo?
don't have an ATM at the bottom. So yeah, no, it was very cool. How long have you been in the Valley?
Not very long. It's only been about a little over 2 years now. We're both originally from Wisconsin.
So you moved to Phoenix and decide to start your business.
Yes. I was working with a law firm when I moved down here originally, so
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy enough to try and start my practice and move to Arizona at the same time.
So then Arizona's been good to you for your business and your hiking and all of that?
Yes,
Nice.
we love it down here. You can't beat the weather. I know everyone, lamented the summer, but now we're in I'm getting all the comments. It blizzard. There's a blizzard in Wisconsin. My dad sent me a picture. It was like an inch and a half before it melted later that day. So, people can cry about the 118 down here, but when you get a blizzard on November 1,
Yeah.
it really gives you the contrast between the two.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I lived in Alaska for 6 years. So
Oh, cool.
I like it, but I was born here. So I always just say I'm a native. I was born and raised. My mom took me to Alaska when I was 10. So 10 to 16, since it wasn't my choice, I'm still a native.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm
Well,
not mad about it. The experience was fantastic. And
we're in Alaska.
love it. I wouldn't want to raise kids in Alaska, at least not littles. There's just not, well, living in Wisconsin, that's really hard to snowball bundle up a baby and a toddler.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Where in Alaska? Sorry, before we go, I wanted to know where in Alaska.
I lived in Anchorage.
Okay.
So we moved in 84. So now you know how old I am. I'm almost 50. So yeah, I moved up there when I was 10. And then I told my mom when I was 16, I was getting ready to enter junior year high school. I said, hey, my brother had already moved back down to Arizona. Our whole family and our dad and everyone lived here. So he had already come down. I said, hey, I'm just going to go to Arizona for 1 year. I want to be with my brother through his senior year. So I came down, but I never went back. And then when I had my daughter, I had my first baby at 20. My mom immediately sold all of her stuff and moved back down to Arizona. So she's been, and now my daughter's 30. Well, 29. She would kill me. She just turned 29. I can't put 30 on her yet. I'm like, doesn't really matter.
Yeah. All the fun birthdays are gone. It doesn't really matter anymore.
I know. I'm like, you have some kids, you're married, 29, 30. Nobody cares. I care, Mom. I care. I'm like, oh, that's fine. This was fun. I hope to see you. I don't know if you know, our next thing is December 5, our goal setting workshop. I'd love to see you there. And we have a lot coming up for spring and all the fun stuff starting in January with NAWBO. But I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And I look forward to running into you at some of the upcoming events.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you? I'll also put that in our little social media notes, but how can they find you?
Yeah. So easy is just giving me a call or a text message. It's 480-582-0094. Otherwise, you're welcome to pop on my website. It's just nocturnallegal.com. And there's a way to book a free 15-minute call with me on my website.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being a member, and I'm excited to connect more.
Thanks. And I appreciate you being the president. It's been great so far.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for all your hard work. I feel like nobody sees behind the scenes how much work you do. So thanks so much.
I appreciate that.